Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and this video is a progress update on my quest for metric threads, because I've been working every time I go out to work in the garage. I've been working on making gears, and I got down to the point where all the stock I had wasn't big enough diameter, the round stuff, to make any gears out of, and I still had 4 to go, so I had to go and buy a piece of metal plate, aluminum plate, 1/2 inch thick, to cut the gears out of. So what I'll show you here in this video is just updates, day-by-day updates as I go along. Probably won't be very interesting, and if you don't want to watch it, that'd be fine too, but there's a Bubba joke at the end. Myself, I don't know if y'all paid any attention to Dick's Sporting Goods. Personally, I'm boycotting Dick's because they spent all this time selling people guns, and now they decided that they're against it, and they're paying the gun lobby to get convince your congressman to take them away from you. And I went by there today just to look. They said they were going to destroy all their AR-15s and that sort of thing. So I went by there today to see what I could see, and I'm not that good at recognizing an AR-15, but there was a lot of scary looking black guns hanging on the wall, and the shelves were full of them all the way around, and the glass cases had pistols and such in them. And I noticed all their ammo was on sale at 20% off. So I got a feeling that what they're going to do is they're going to try to get some discounts to get rid of all their stock, and then proceed on trying to get the government to come and confiscate it from you once you get it home. In Texas, we got a word for that kind of operation. It's called chicken shit, and that's just the kind of operation they're doing there. They sold you all these guns. They wasn't too good to take your money. Now they want to have the government come out and take them away from you for nothing. Oh well. Anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. All I ever bought from Dick's anyway was just some little rings to hold on a sling. I mean, you can buy overpriced tennis shoes at hundreds of stores around town. You can buy overpriced golf clubs all over the place. You can, whatever they got it at Walmart and Academy and Cabela's and hundreds of other stores. So on top of that, they were always pretty dang high on their prices when I went in there. But there you go. That's my news for the day. So let's just get on with the video. This is a Saturday, and it's a long ways yet till Thursday, but I thought I'd show what I've done so far in gear making, and I've still got 6 more gears to go. I need to make a 32, 52, 54, 56, and 60. Now the 44 is not on the list, but the reason I've got that there is because I was making this gear right here, and I lost my concentration for a minute, and I lost count of how many times I'd turned the crank, and I got a fat gear. I said fat gear, a fat tooth, and I should have had sense enough to stop, roll the thing back, stop the machine, run the cutter through here until it was lined up, and then count forward again, and I wouldn't have wasted my work. That's wasted work there. Except that I calculated I can trim off this and make a 44 tooth gear out of it. And that's why I've got a 44 tooth gear on this list. I don't need it for the metric threads, but hey, I got a 46 tooth gear and I don't need it for metric threads. And somewhere there's I think a 12 tooth gear that goes with that. But they'll come in handy for something someday, somewhere, probably, maybe. Anyway, if I make a 44 tooth gear out of this, I don't lose my work. I've only got one number 3 Marsh taper dead center, and I've been putting it over here and putting on the backing plate, your face plate rather, and taking it over and put it in the rotary table. And of course, you got to do all the cleaning of the bore and everything every time, and I get tired of that. So I got this little center here that I machined to be straight right now, and that stops me from having to move things back and forth. Maybe one of these days I'll buy another number 3 Morse taper dead center. Alright, that guy's ready to become a 44 tooth gear, which will mean basically a wasted evening out here, because I don't need a 44 tooth gear, but that's what size it turns down to once they got the teeth cut off. So there you go. We'll make that one and put it on the shelf to wait for someday. Alright, so now we got a 44 tooth gear. It's a little scummy looking because it was hot from me taking my little propane torch and heating it so it'd fall off the mandrel, and I didn't want to wait for it to cool down, so I was holding on with a piece of paper towel and deburring it on the wire brush part of the bench grinder, and I dropped it in the floor, and so I skinned it up and dragging it back across. Well, here it is Monday, and I went to the metal store and got some plate there. That's 35 bucks worth of 1/2 inch plate. But I should be able to cut circles out of that and get all the rest of the gears I need, and probably have some left over. It's got an inconvenient little cut right across the middle of it there, but I'm sure I'll work around that. I'm not sure how well you can see the markings there, but I've marked the thing off, and I'm set to make 2 gears here and 2 gears off the piece from the other side, and the piece down the middle, well, who knows. But anyway, that I should be able to get the last 4 gears out of that. Now we come to the big problem of cutting these suckers out of there. The first thing I'm going to do is try to cut the long cuts there. I know my Harbor Freight bandsaw, if I turn it up as a vertical saw, it's not going to do that job for me, I'm pretty sure. I think the blade will just pop off time after time. But I'm going to try to start like that. If it doesn't work, I'll drill holes all along the edge and come back with a saber saw or something. Anyway, that's the next step in making progress on the gears. Well, getting those 2 little pieces freed up from the big chunk, I don't know, I think it might have took me about an hour, or maybe 45 minutes. I didn't really check the time when I started, but here it is 3:30, and it was about 2 o'clock when I came out here, so I've been doing something for all that time. Anyway, so now I'm going to drill a hole in the middle of each one of them. I'd say about a 1/2 inch hole, so I can chuck it up in the lathe and get rid of these corners before I ever start to make the hole in the center. I don't know, it just seems like the way I want to do it. There's probably a 1,000 better ways. So the way I'm getting this thing rounder is with my parting tool. I'm a little bit off the side here, but that's alright. It's going to work out anyway, I think. Now and then I take too big a bite. I've done that a couple times, but then I suffered through the blade coming off about 40 times on the bandsaw, so I can get through a few little grabs here. I thought guys might find this interesting. It's like I've got transparent metal. You can see the end of the parting tool inside the metal there. Nice optical illusion, huh? Making interrupted cuts to cut the corners off seems to be working just as good as using the parting tool. Either way, it would sometimes get stuck when I take too big a feed, but very close to getting it round there, and once that's done, I'll chuck it up and bore the right size hole in the middle. Alright, so here we are, I think what's Tuesday afternoon. I've got this pile of gears here. I still like 4 gears, having enough. There's blanks for the 2 biggest ones, for the 60 tooth and 56 tooth. The think that's what it is, 56. And then tomorrow I'll go and bore the hole to the right size in the middle of them and put them on the mandrel and cut gear teeth. I imagine maybe next week early sometimes when I get finished cutting the gears. We had a couple about, I guess, 3-4 little electrical occurrences here in the neighborhood while I was eating supper. I come out and my air conditioner was tripped off. So it's just now getting pleasant, but I'm kind of tired, so I'm knocking it off until tomorrow. It seems like that Bubba's Aunt Bobby and his uncle Bubba went off to the big city, you know, and so while they were there, they went into this McDonald's place, you know, and they sit down at the table, and this guy was watching them. He thought they didn't look like they really fit in there with the crowd. But anyway, he noticed that the old man went up the counter and he come back and he's got, you know, a meal in the sight there. He's got 1 hamburger, 1 order of fries, and 1 drink. He sits down there at the table, adds another straw to the drink, lays out some napkins on the table there, cuts the hamburger in half, divides fries up into 2 piles, you know, and the guy's thinking, well, they don't have the money to buy both of them a meal, so he goes over and he says, you know, he says, I don't want to, you know, offend you folks or nothing, but he says, you know, he said, I'd be glad to buy you another burger meal. The old man looks at him and says, no, he says, we got everything we need here. He says, we share everything. So the guy goes back and sits down and he watches. The old guy starts eating the burger and the fries. He watches a little bit and he goes back over and he says, really, he says, it wouldn't be a big problem to me to go and buy y'all another burger meal. The little old lady says to him, she says, no, she says, we share everything. We got everything we want right here. So he went back and sat down and he watched and watched, and the old man, you know, Uncle Bubba, he eats his half of the burger, he eats his half, you know, most of his half of the fries. So the guy goes back over and he says, well, ma'am, he says, I know y'all share everything. He says, but this fella, your husband here, he's ate most of his half of the lunch. He says, and you hadn't touched anything. He says, what are you waiting for? She says, I'm waiting for the teeth. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.